Okay, just waiting for Jake. See what he's doing. Hey.
Hey,
Awesome. Can hear you and everything. That's cool.
yeah, I like your background. That's cool.
Thanks.
Nice.
I'm just in this, had to like make a little makeshift studio at my
Yeah,
parents' place. But yeah.
what I did,
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how's your day going?
Good. I got home from school late last night, so just had a late morning, but pretty good so far. Pretty good. It went from like 10 degrees to 60 degrees here, and all the snow melted, so it's actually pretty nice outside. It's not bad.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's 60
Yeah.
down here too. So
Oh, nice, nice,
I
cool.
was just putting some stuff in my car because I'm going down to New Orleans tonight, and I was like, man, I'm such a Southern girl. Like I just prefer the warm weather. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
that's my mom. She was born and raised in Tennessee, so
mm,
she's like all about the South.
yeah. I thought I could handle it in the north during the winter. It's why I kind of went there for a little while, but it's just not for me. So
Yeah. See, being born and raised in the Chicago winters, you just kind of adapt to the snow. So
mm,
it's so awkward that it's 60 degrees here in the middle of January. That's not normal. So I'm like, where's all the snow? Like it's not cold, because I'm used to the cold. So it's very weird that for some reason right now it's so warm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. So that yeah. But I feel happy for you though. I'm
Yeah,
glad
no,
that
absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
like living in Bozeman, Montana. Oh my gosh. Like we started getting snow the second week of September.
Wow.
And I was like, what? I didn't know it was different. I didn't know that's not how it was. And they're like, no, it never snows this early. Like usually around Halloween, but not
Yeah.
like this. I was like, oh, well, this is my experience of Bozeman. I guess is
Yeah.
yeah. So, well, cool, awesome. Well, thank you for doing
Yeah,
this
thank you.
trying to do
Absolutely.
this again. Internet
Take
connection.
25.
Yeah, I didn't know that was going to show up on the thing. I just kind of write weird things sometimes.
No, that was
That's
funny. I
funny
got a kick out of it.
because I feel like it almost was. It's a little dramatic, but like six or so. We tried it a
Yeah,
lot that day.
pretty close.
Um, so cool, awesome. Well, what I wanted because I think we're just going to use this.
Okay.
And I kind of have it like a timer set. It's going to tell us when we have about 10 minutes before the recording shuts off.
Okay.
So yeah. And I was also thinking, I was like, is this going to be like kind of stale because we've done this so many times? And then I was like, no, because I've honestly feel like I've forgotten some things already that you were talking
Yeah.
about. So I think it's going to be fine. So
Hmm.
yeah, so awesome. Well, I kind of want to talk about your channel and
Okay.
how it came about. Like what made you start to post and what
Hmm.
made you start to be more consistent about it too.
Okay. Sure. So basically what happened was, on my awakening, like most people, we need a mentor. We need someone to guide us through, our beginning phases because awakening is not an easy thing. It really isn't. You're starting to realize that there's so much more. There's almost like a different world within your world in a way. So as I started to practice my spiritual beliefs and I started asking questions and I learned what I should do to connect more to the beings, I started to be told by many people, including Ivan Teller and Jim Charles, that I was a channeler and that it was my duty to channel. And so I thought, like most people, sure, that would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But how do I get there? Because, I felt like there was a big gap between where they were and where I was.
Mm-hmm.
So I started asking questions on channeling. I started practicing channeling. And even though I couldn't really get it down, I kept messaging and I basically didn't give up. I made that my passion. My main goal was to learn to channel. And then so finally, when I went to the Hukalo workshop last August in Dansville, that's when I met Jim Charles in person. And Jim said, yes, you are supposed to be a channeler, even though you haven't unlocked your abilities yet, you are a channeler and you are channeling all the time. You just don't recognize it. So I am here to help you take your abilities that you already have, and I'm here to show you how to use them, basically. So when I went to the workshop, we had telepathy classes, channeling classes, meditation classes, techniques, all this stuff. And then so I remember during the channeling class, out of nowhere, I just started getting this message, and it sounded like someone was using my thoughts as if you're thinking to yourself, only I wasn't creating this. And
Yeah.
because I was connected mainly to the Arcturians, because I still am, they're my main contact. The
Hmm.
Arcturians came in, so I gave this really, really brief message. Wasn't really anything important. But after I gave that message, I learned, okay, this is channeling, this is how it is. And it's really not as intense and impactful for me as I thought it would be. So I put channeling on a pedestal in a way. So
Yeah.
for me, I was making channeling a lot bigger than it really was. So after that, I started to learn, oh, this is really not that hard. And then so throughout that workshop, I was just connecting to beings constantly, using the telepathy, talking to them, bringing in messages. And so when I got back from the workshop, I really was like, okay, I want to just practice this, even if, I'm only on for maybe an 8-minute video, or I'm answering questions just for myself.
Hmm.
You have to start somewhere. So I started creating videos. I started to learn how to do the channelings, and the Eliashan Dezende, who is my reptilian connections and one of my reptilian aspects that I've actually met before, they
Hmm.
came in for the first time, and it was a really
Reptilian
brief.
aspect, like uh, uh what am I
Like
thinking of right now?
I'm basically, we all have different aspects. We're all living
Right.
multiple lives.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
Okay.
basically, I have an aspect that is from the Eliashan Dezende.
Hmm.
And I remember during the workshop, Jim actually channeled Spirikos, who is one of like the leaders of the Eliashan. And I
Hmm.
remember during the workshop, during the video, he looked directly at me and just me when he was channeling. And he was like, I see that one of our Andromedan ambassadors is here. And I kind of was looking around like, is he talking to me? Is he talking to other people? So
Hmm.
afterwards, I went up to him and I was like, listen, Jim, I'm not trying to be egotistical, but when you were saying that, you were looking directly at me and everyone else was looking at me. Was this message about me? And he
Hmm.
said, yes, this is your connection. Even though you're connected to the Arcturians, you are here to connect to your reptilian aspect, because they have been wanting to connect to you for so long. But because I had this impression that all reptilians were negative, I kind of shut it away, basically. And I didn't let
Yeah,
myself.
I actually even felt like a pushback when you were talking about that, like within myself. So it's probably just a like a program belief system, because I even felt
Absolutely.
that. But I also felt when he was talking about the ambassador part, I also felt like, oh my gosh, that's so true. So it was
And
really
yeah.
interesting. It was a really weird thing that was happening while I was listening to you. Like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, that's so true. Oh, but reptile, I'm not sure. And it's so yeah, it's not that I don't believe that about. I think what I'm trying to talk about right now, as if like anybody else is watching, is there's just a difference of what, like, there's a resonance and then their beliefs.
Yeah,
They're just different.
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's like, I guess that's one of the reasons why I'm so glad that I'm more in touch with my body, that I know what's a belief and
Yeah,
what's a resonance. Like, oh yeah,
absolutely.
ambassador. And then it was like, oh, reptilians. Oh no, I don't know about that. So
Mhm.
yeah. So I just wanted to kind of maybe say that
Right.
just
Yeah,
really
and
quick.
if you look up reptilian qualities and like really what their personality is, it's actually what my personality is for a big part. So
Mm-hmm.
even though Arcturians are my closest connection here, physically I'm very reptilian. I remember Jim saying to me, he's like, you're muscular, you're very athletic, you're very quiet, and you analyze, and you're very smart, and you kind of keep to yourself, and you kind of just, put yourself at a distance so you can just be very reflective and analytical.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I think that your exercise and your physique has to do with your reptilian aspect, because
I keep getting this message that like they're telling me about the snake in the garden,
mhm,
and how like the snake was, and I see the snake very differently than other people would in the Bible. I see the
yeah,
snake as a helper.
okay,
Like I see that snake as like it told Eve that you are to be like God.
mhm,
And like the reptile, the snake gave
yeah,
her this knowledge. That's
Yeah.
what like I keep hearing, and like
Yeah.
we've been ingrained to mistrust that snake. We've been
Yeah.
told, but the snake and all of the things that I've like realized in dreams and stuff like that, the snakes they are light bringers. Anytime like the Kundalini is a snake.
It's snake. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
And
it's
it's feminine too.
mm,
Yeah.
mm, that's
Hmm.
interesting. So yeah, it's like that's really cool. That's
Yeah.
what you're resonating with, because that's like what they keep telling me. It's like, and that's why we might have a pushback subconsciously to snakes, reptiles,
Yeah.
because that's where our subconscious beliefs are going to get threatened, because
Yeah.
that's where the light is being,
Hmm.
theirs are the light bringers or
Yeah,
something.
no, that absolutely makes sense. And we have that R complex in our minds. We have that reptilian complex actually.
Mm,
So, we're very connected to them. It's almost like there are like siblings that we just never really met and got along with. Because what I had a channeling not too long ago, and sometimes I'll rewatch them just to know how to like label the video. And I was watching it, and this reptilian really had a really good point. Her name, I believe, was I think it was Sylvia. I've channeled too many of them, so I'm not sure. I think it was
mm,
Sylvia, though. And she was saying, they are the catalysts that really drive us to do better, because on this 3D plane, we have the duality, the positive, and the negativity. And so when we have negativity, it improves us, and the negativity pushes us to learn, and it pushes us to improve ourselves so we can learn from our past mistakes. And if you really look, the Pleiadians, Arcturians, humans, it seems like their main enemies have always been the reptilians. So in a good way, they are the catalysts that really drive this universe
mm,
to perfect itself in ways that it needs to. Because if you look at the history, the Lyrans had the biggest, drawback with the reptilians and the Pleiadians, and like I said, us. And so I really think without them, we wouldn't be as advanced as we are, because they were the driving force to push us to make the positive changes.
mm. And that's
So I think they're very
that's
positive.
the Octurians, you said? Are
No,
they
the
the
reptilians.
reptilians? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I think they're a
Okay.
good catalyst for us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's interesting. That's
yeah,
such a cool thing that maybe I'll start to look into, because I used to be more familiar with the star families and star seeds,
yeah,
because actually I couldn't find mine anywhere. I kept looking through the articles about all this stuff, and
yeah.
it wasn't until I saw a channeling that Bashar did, and he talked about Sirius and he talked
Mhm.
about Syrians. I was like, that one. But no one talks
Um,
about, like, I couldn't find anything about them when I was first
mhm.
doing my search.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, that's the name. That's the name. That's what I feel. And then I could find, my search was more specific. But they don't talk a lot about Sirius. They talk a lot about Pleiadians, I
Yeah.
think, and the Lyrans. And it's been a while since I researched that stuff. But
Hmm.
that's really cool. That's awesome. And so something that was coming into my mind to ask is, has what have you found by being more consistent with your YouTube channel? I think it's so funny that we call it's a YouTube
The
channel, but
channel and channeling. I
yeah,
know.
I
Yeah.
think it's really interesting. I was even telling Kevin that, or I wanted to tell Kevin that. I was like, your channel, like, what are you doing with your channel?
Right.
And he hasn't been, yeah, it was just funny. I saw the synonym in the word. So
Mhm.
so what have you found with being more consistent? What kind of, like, is that why did you start being more consistent because it was helping you connect, or like what is?
Well, there's a couple things I can add to that. So one of them is just like, let's say you want to read a book. You don't want to read, part of a book and then continue a week later. You want to continuously read so it's in your mind, it's fresh.
Mm,
So with me, channeling is like anything. It takes practice. It takes a lot of time. What most people I've learned say is it takes about 2 to 3 years of channeling to really ground yourself and to really know what you're doing, to
mm,
really get comfortable in your own shoes. And then so with me, I was like, if I just channel like once a month, like a lot of the big time people, I'm going to get a little rusty and I'm not going to connect to the people as much. And part of me is that I like to be on the same page as everybody else, because I understand there are some channelers out there who they are making it. They have thousands of subscribers, but then they'll be on for, maybe once a month because they don't have to be on there as much anymore. And I feel like when you do that, you really lose that connection with people. And I've always been kind of like a people person, even though I may not put myself as high up, it's like people really like me and I kind of speak for the people. So I like to have that lower status, everyday channeler basically. Because like I've said before, everybody can do this.
There was something I was getting. It's like while you were talking, it's like I heard that being very consistent and what you're talking about where you get rusty, it's like they will give you the messages that are really kind of relevant because
Exactly.
they know that you are that you're going to give very updated information.
Yeah.
And so they'll keep, I don't know. Yeah. So that makes sense to you.
Yeah, no, that really does. And then, it's like any relationship, you have to work and meet them in the middle, because if you aren't healthy, if you aren't connecting as much, if you aren't meditating, if you aren't really trying, if you don't have that passion and that intention to really do this, then they're really gonna not help you. Because what really helped me was what the Andromedans said to Alex Collier in, I think it was the 80s. And then they told it to me in a meditation once. They're like, when we look at people who want this stuff, if you're not helping yourself, if you're not helping the planet, and if you're not helping everyone else, why would we want to help you? And it makes sense. It really does make sense. It's like, why would you want to give this knowledge to someone who's not going to use it for the positive? So I really want to try to show that this is really what I want to do. And another aspect to why I do this so much is that I cut myself off from society so much to really gain these abilities and to really ground myself in my work. So part of it too is I choose not to really have that big social life so I can be here and I can do this because this is what I love to do. If I was able to not go to school and not have a job and do this as a job and just be on every day, I totally would. But right now in my situation, that's not really likely. In the future, maybe so. But right now it's like, I kind of have to be on here a lot to build myself, but I'm choosing to, because I'm choosing not to engage and, give my energy. Because when you go out in public and you're with a lot of people, the energies get interchanged and you can gain a lot of negativity. So I try to keep myself here and grounded in the white light with all these beings. So a good way to put it is I like to work with spirit more than people, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and kind of what they're telling me is that we all have this let's see. Sorry. Whoops. They're saying to me that there's just a time and a place in our journeys.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, that's why everyone awakens at a different time too. It's all different.
Yeah, and there's like different paths, because right now I feel very called to be drawn into the community.
Yeah.
And so, but it's like, but yeah, we all have like how we're dealing with that and what that looks like for us. Well, so because I'm kind of imagining that, because it was watching your channel that made me think, oh, I could do that, and I could do that every day. And it's like I just saw, he's just recording this and just uploading it. Like, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
But I'm a perfectionist, so that part of me can kind of keep things from manifesting,
of course,
as fast. And then sometimes I feel like you could lose authenticity that way.
Yeah, well, that's why, like I was telling you last time we were trying to do this, I made myself for a whole month. I was like, every day I'm going to sit down for an hour in this chair and I'm going to channel. It wasn't, it wasn't like I was telling myself I'm going to try to channel. It was, you are going to do this. And because I thought channeling was so much greater than it is, in a sense of when you get into the state, I wasn't able to channel because I was trying too hard, basically. Like I was sitting here, like I remember telling you, I was sitting here being like, okay, I'm about to, an Arturian's going to come through me, and then I'm going to go onto their ship, and I'm going to see all this stuff, and he's going to talk, and I'm not going to remember it, and it's going to be this crazy miracle. And that's not the case. That's really not how it is. So I was putting it on a pedestal too much, and I was creating separation between myself and the ability, basically.
Yeah.
And so once I realized, you want to speak through the heart, I mean, the telepathy has to open too. I didn't have the telepathy at the time. So that's, a big factor, because if you can't hear what they're saying, how are you really going to say it,
Yeah. And something that happened was, I've had Jesus come to me, a bunch, and I'll ask him, like, why can I hear you, but it doesn't seem like a lot of your followers can hear you? That's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
And he had said, he's like, you don't see me as an other.
Yeah.
You don't see me as someone that is that much greater than you. You can learn from me, and you know that I am a teacher, but you don't put me on such a pedestal to where like there's so much separation between you and I.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's something that, like, I don't know how to, I'm trying to think, I could just hear people like, well, how do I speed that up? How do I look at it that way? And it's honestly, it's such a journey to get there. I don't know if there's a way you can speed it up or slow it down. I mean, you could slow it down. So probably there's a way you could speed it up. If you can slow it down, you can speed it up. But I think my connection really started to get stronger whenever I started tuning into my body. And then so with yoga, that's how we've talked about this, where exercise seems to be a routine that's been beneficial for both of us. So because with that, I think for me, and I think you spoke about it too, we connect more with the breath. Yeah. So really, that's such like a life force in our bodies.
I mean, when you're nervous and you're freaking out, you're breathing really, really fast. When you're calm, you're breathing very slow. You can really tell how someone's doing just by how they're breathing. You really can. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so that's something that if you can find and then with the energy. So with a lot of us, and I don't know that it's recording me at all on this.
Okay.
I think it's going to be your face the whole time and my voice, which is totally fine. But that's like something I'm noticing. I was like, I don't think it's switching our views, but with the breath and the energy. So a lot of us, something they've been really stressing me lately is to stress the fact that we are spirits in a human form. Yeah. So with that, your spirit vibe is very high. Yeah. So in order to integrate it into the body and start to connect into the body, we have to do things to feel our body. Mm-hmm. It's almost like they're two separate things. We have come here to experience what it's like to be a human and to be in this form. So we have to get practices and get ways to feel our body through physical activity to kind of merge the energies. Mm-hmm. Is what it's kind of making me understand more. So when you do a physical activity, not only it's because I think everyone will be able to resonate with, you feel a lot of energy, and it's mostly in your head. It's like it's all up here. Yes. Until you find a practice where you can start to like get the energy down, because that's where your spirit is. Your spirit's like operating on those higher chakras.
I was just about to say that. That's really funny you mentioned that, because our lower chakras are our very human aspect. And I remember when I went to the workshop, when I first met Jim and Max, they said to me, they were like, we can see that you are all up here, but you need to learn to ground yourself and align your chakras. Yeah. They were like, yes, you're very connected. You see and talk to beings and all that. That's great, but you're kind of off in your own little world. And if you don't integrate and balance your chakras and really take that higher stuff and bring it down, you're not going to get anywhere. So yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with that. That's very true.
It's like anchoring the information. Like I've been watching a lot of Matt Kahn, and I watch him so that I can just like get all this information in my subconscious. So I'll watch him a lot.
Cool.
And I noticed yesterday in my car, he talks a lot about anchoring love, anchoring
Mm-hmm.
the light,
Yeah.
anchoring. He says that a lot, to anchor,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I see the lower chakras as being. It's like we are light, we are love, we are peace, we are
Absolutely.
compassion, we are all of these. We are that. You don't have to find it. You are that.
Yes.
It's just bringing that into human form, anchoring it,
Mm-hmm.
bringing it to those lower chakras. And so I do think a physical practice is good
Mm-hmm.
for people to adopt. And that was one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I did reach out to you in one of the first place, because I remember I saw your channel, really liked it, added you on Facebook, and I kind of was like clicking through some pictures, and I saw your before and after picture.
Oh, yeah. This is that same jersey. That's why it's so big on me. I wore this when I was 350 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, so he can channel, but I've seen him go through this physical transformation.
Yeah.
So I was like, I wonder if he'll kind of confirm the message that I've been getting about how much we have to get into the body. And I was wondering, I was like, did spirit tell him to start working out? Did spirit tell him to lose that weight? Or did he start losing weight and then he heard spirit? Like, that was one of my main questions. I was like, how did that work for him? So.
Yeah, sure. I can answer that. So, like we were saying before, in 2012, that was my awakening. The two reasons was because, one, the energy on the earth on Gaia was changing. She was upgrading. So when Gaia upgrades, we all are affected because we are a part of Gaia. And also, like we were just saying about 10 minutes ago, everyone awakens at different points, because before you come into this body, you make that plan. So before we even incarnate here, you make a plan on when you're going to awaken, basically. So for me, it was 2012. And spirit drove me before I started connecting to this. What happened was, in 2012, I started having really, really weird visions. I was waking up on ships. I would be on Mars. I had a lot of past life images. At the time, I didn't know they were past lives, but now I do. Being, like in the Giza pyramids, or being in the pyramids of Egypt as a thought form sometimes too, just floating around. And I would wake up out of nowhere thinking, I have to study this. I have to do this. I have to learn about Buddhism, the Dalai Lama. I have to get myself healthy again. Because even though I've always been an athlete and I've been in sports and doing all that stuff, for a couple of years, I really let myself go around 2010 to 2012. I just let myself go. I was a complete wreck. I was in a very depressed state, and so I was about 355 pounds. And I knew something had to change, but I really didn't know what, and I didn't really have it in me at the time. So out of nowhere, I started having all these things happen to me and all these synchronicities. And I knew something was guiding me to improve myself, but I really didn't know what it was. But my thinking was, whatever it is, this is definitely for the positive compared to how I've been living. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go with this. Even though I didn't really know it was truly spirit at the time, I thought that there was some sort of paranormal push, I guess you can say, because I've always been very close to the paranormal and ghosts, and I've always loved that stuff. So for me, I was like, something is watching over me. And at the time, I thought it could have just been God, or maybe, I'm just supposed to do this in my life. So I started losing a lot of weight. I completely stopped eating fast food. I don't drink pop, soda, whatever you call it, wherever you are. I started eating a lot of fruit, a lot of vegetables. And I was working out. I started at 3 miles a day, and then I went up to 10 miles a day. So in a year and a half, I went from 355 pounds to 180 pounds. And what happened was I lost too much weight. And I remember being in college one day, I was in class, and everything got really bright, and I felt like I was going to faint. And then so I sat in the chair, and my spine just had this really sharp pain. I didn't know why. So I felt it. I put my hand on my back, and the metal chair was clinging onto my spine. And you can feel every detail of the bones in my spine. So it got to a point where I lost too much weight. So I knew I had to gain some. But anyways, I lost the weight first because you need to really have your vibration risen, and you need to be healthy, and you need to purify yourself in order to open up to the higher dimensional energies. So even though I didn't know it was my time to do that, they did work with me, with my body first, because you have to get physical, you have to get healthy. And that's why, even though it's common sense, you see so many spiritual people becoming vegan, vegetarian.
Right.
You don't have to do that. You can eat meat. Like, I eat meat all the time. But you see there is a physical aspect to spirituality.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So awesome. So yeah, because I kind of see, and the alarm went off to where we have a few more minutes before the recording stops. But yeah, because I see how a lot of people, that this is something that they know that they have. I feel we all can do this. We can all channel. And some people are just so desperate, I think, to get in touch with that part of themselves. And I'm only speaking kind of from experience, because I remember wanting that, and how to do it. But we all come to it at our own time. But I think for the people that are really at the end, like that's what it was for me. I just really hit this spot where I couldn't do it anymore. It's like, I remember thinking, because I struggled with depression for 12 years. And then I realized one day, like, I had gotten really close to a suicide attempt one summer. And then I came home, and I kept being depressed, and these thoughts kept coming up. And then something just told me, you're never going to do this, so figure out how to live your life. And I was like, oh. It was like just that clear. It's like, oh, okay, I'm actually not going to kill myself. So how do I be happy? And then so that was nice. But and then they just told me, try yoga, take vitamins, and eat good food. And I was like, okay, well, I'll do that for like 2 months. But if this shit doesn't work, I'm going to a doctor. I'm going to get on pills, because I'm not going to live this way forever. But I was, I would have gotten on pills sooner if I felt that they were going to be for me. I just, I struggled with it for so long, but something in me was like, I'm not doing that. And so I did that, and it took 2 weeks. But it was a very physical part of this whole thing. It was the yoga and the vitamins and the food. That's really what did it for me. And I always get nervous sharing that information, because something tells me, it's not the same for everyone, because it's not.
It's not, yeah.
But I'm glad that I found what it was for me to get myself on the same page with spirit and to connect with my body. Because honestly, it's our bodies that have a lot of the information that we need.
Of course, we're very connected to our bodies. I'm not sure if you've heard of Cryon. He's a really big channeler. Lee Carroll, he channels Cryon.
I've heard of him, but I haven't.
Yeah, he talks about the innate. I'm very connected with my body because I'm a healer, like everybody. One of the things that I can do is that if I'm sick or someone's sick, I will get the third eye visuals of, inside my body. Like, I'll literally get a visual inside of what's wrong. Wow. Or, for example, a couple months ago, my mom's dog passed away. And she was really, really sick. And then so no one knew what was wrong with her. And so I remember working on her and doing Reiki on her. And when I was doing Reiki on her, I would just get these images of her kidneys. And basically what I'm getting to is we have a connection to our bodies. Our bodies talk to us. You have to have this marriage of, I am a spirit in this body form. But because we are one right now, we need to have this marriage, and we need to work at this. We need to have the best potential possible. And then you were talking about taking pills, antidepressants, all that kind of stuff. And what I can say is that I was on that stuff for years. From 15 years old to about 22 years old, I was on bipolar medication, anxiety medication, and ADHD medication. And the Arcturians actually helped me get off of it. They told me to stop taking all that completely. And they actually told me, I mean, not all at one time, because that can be very dangerous because, with the wiring in your brain, how it works. So I started taking myself off the bipolar medication, and then the ADHD medication, and then finally the anxiety medication. Wow. And they taught me, they're like, if you use healing and energy and meditation and love yourself and spirituality and you're healthy, you don't need these medications. I know that there are some people, I know I can't speak for everybody, because some people do need some things, but when it comes to that kind of stuff, you honestly don't need it. And like, I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but I personally believe those medications actually make it harder for you. I don't think they help you. And they also make it harder for you to connect spiritually, because I can say that while I was on bipolar medication, I had my spiritual awakening. So it's not like you can't connect to that stuff. But once I got off of all the medications, it was just like a full-blown boom. I'm super connected.
Right.
Yeah, so those medications will actually hurt your connection.
Yeah, well, I interesting, like I wrote that post that you kind of read about my birthday, how I said I thought about getting on medication because I knew it would probably tone the voices down. It would basically tone out spirit.
It does.
It would, deaden that connection, because honestly, it's not like the easiest thing to hear that you need to be going and doing this, and this. It's like to get all these assignments all the time. It's kind of be overwhelming if you're not ready. Yeah. So maybe that's why the medication is good. It's like your way of saying, not now. I can't deal with that right now. And they're very loving to where we have different options to be like, okay, this isn't for you for right now. Here's this. And you're able to choose whatever path you want.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I did flirt with that. I was almost diagnosed bipolar. But I didn't go back to the appointment because
I don't know if you knew this, but a lot of people who are on the spiritual path are diagnosed being bipolar. A lot of star seeds, when I first learned about star seeds, a lot of them are diagnosed as having bipolar. Right. And it's because in this world, we're not brought up in this 3D to understand the spirituality the way that we are going about it. Mm-hmm. So they think we're bipolar because we're connecting to all these energies. And so when you don't know how to really work with spirit, you're going to constantly be up, down, up, down. If you don't know how to balance it, you're all over the place. Right. And so, what do they do when they don't know something? Oh, well, we'll just give you a medication and we'll label it this. Mm-hmm. So that's actually a big correlation. Bipolar disorder and spirituality actually do go hand in hand.
It's really interesting. So this is about to wrap up. For the recording part, but yeah, so I'll just go ahead and say all of this information has been really great, just in case it cuts us off pretty soon, and at least the recording part. And yeah, I appreciate you sharing this part of the journey. I feel like we'll do more of these, but yeah, I think maybe this could help a few people understand how to what consistency does in practicing and how that connects you even more, and diet and finding an energy release through physical activity could possibly be an avenue to go down. Mm-hmm. Hopefully if you can say maybe a closing thing before.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, because right now we're talking mainly about, health. Your health completely ties into spirituality, because being healthy is really, let's be honest, it's loving yourself. It's taking care of yourself. You're really loving and understanding and supporting your body and your energy. So when you do this, you are creating more of that purification, more of that white light energy. So the more you do that and the more you really nurture yourself, the more you're going to be able to connect to Gaia and the higher energies and dimensions and all that. And also working out absolutely does help, because I get a lot of my images and my like telepathic messages, if you want to call them, on the treadmill. And that's a very known thing. So if any of you are out there and you work out, or you get messages while you're working out, or you this resonates with you, you're not alone. There are thousands of people who are going through the same thing. So if you're on a spiritual path, I highly suggest that you become healthy, you get physical. And as you do that, you will see all of these connections really amp up. Because loving yourself is obviously the number one thing you can do, but loving yourself is opening up to these higher, beings. Because what do they ask you to do? Just like Jesus, they ask you to love yourself, be honest with yourself. The whole point of Jesus, kind of like what we were saying, is that it's not that he's on a higher plane and so much greater than us. He came here to realize what he does, we can all do. So just be honest, be real, and incorporate all these things, because they are real, and everyone is waiting for you to connect. It's all up to you. It's all about your intentions.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a great closing statement right there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
Absolutely.